Okay, let's talk about graphs and their intercepts. So our objective for this video lecture, we want to find the intercepts algebraically from an equation. We're also going to talk about how to find these using the TI 83 or 84. Okay, so what are intercepts? Let's define the word. Make sure my paper is lined up here. I think I'm pretty good. Intercepts. These are the points at which a graph crosses or touches the coordinate axes. Okay, so we have two types because we have two axes in a two-dimensional plane. We have x-intercepts and we have y-intercepts. So as you might imagine, an x-intercept or x-intercepts are the point or the points at which a graph crosses or touches the x-axis. Okay, all of those points where they touch or cross, where the graph touches or crosses the x-axis, they all have a y-coordinate of 0. Okay, so when we're on the x-axis, the y value of the coordinate is 0. So second, these are often called zeros, or they're called roots. As in the following example, find the roots of the equation x squared plus 4x minus 12 equals 0. So if you're looking at a question that says find the zeros or find the roots, we're looking for when it touches or crosses the x-axis. On the TI 83 or 84, we're going to go to second calc, and then we're going to choose option 2, the 0, and then we're going to set bounds in order to find that point where it crosses the x-axis. And we'll do an example of that in just a moment. Okay, our y-intercepts. Okay, well, if the x-intercepts are the points at which a graph crosses or touches the x-axis, your y-intercept or your y-intercepts are the point or the points at which a graph crosses or touches the y-axis. Okay, two things to note. The first is that whenever you're on the y-axis, the x-coordinate is 0. Okay, and that on your TI calculator, 83 or 84, there are two ways you can find this. You can go to second calc and choose option 1 value, and you'll be presented with an x equals, and so you enter 0, and it'll give you the y value when x equals 0, which of course would be the y-intercept. You can also go quickly to the trace function, and then you'll be presented with the same x equals, and then you can enter 0 and get there that way as well. Okay, so to find these intercepts algebraically, we're going to use, let me make sure I can see my screen here. We're going to use the fact that the x-intercept has a y-coordinate of 0 and that the y-intercept has an x-coordinate of 0. So we want to find the x-intercepts. Well, we're going to let y equals 0, and then we're going to solve for x. And when we want to find the y-intercept or intercepts, we're going to let x equal 0 and solve for y. Let's take a look. Okay, so here I have an example. Given the equation y equals x squared minus 4, find A, the x-intercept or intercepts, and B, the y-intercept or intercepts. Okay, well, let's look at A, the x-intercepts. We know that when it's an x-intercept, that it has a y, it's on the x-axis and has a y value of 0. So substitute 0 in for y and solve. Here's the equation. Let's put 0 in for y. Okay, and now let's solve. In this case, we're going to solve this one using, this is a quadratic. I'm going to solve it using square roots. Add 4 to both sides. And then I'm just going to write it where the x squared is first. So I have x squared equals 4. And then, of course, square root both sides. And don't forget, I come up with positive or negative 2. Okay, so if you can write this in two ways. You can say the x-intercepts are positive 2, and negative 2, or 2 and negative 2 if you want, or as coordinate points, okay, as coordinates, two, 0, and negative 2, 0. Okay, so here we're saying that the x-intercept, so that would tell someone we know that the y coordinate is 0. Here we want to see it as coordinates. Okay, well 2 comma 0 and negative 2 comma 0. Let's take a look at this on our calculator. Okay, so here I am. Okay, now as you'll recall, let me go into my, let's go into my y equals, and I got a couple of things to clear out. Okay, so here's the equation. It's already written in terms of y equals, so just put in x squared minus 4. And then we're going to graph it. And my graph looks like I need to, let's zoom standard my window. So zoom 6, and let's take a look. Well, there you have it. Okay, and so the way you do this is you go to second calc, and we're going to calc zeros because x-intercepts are zeros or roots. So we're going to choose option 2. And then you need to set bounds for each of these. So I'll look at the one on the left first. My left bound is above the x-axis, choose enter. My right bound is below the x-axis, choose enter. I'm telling the calculator to look between these two bounds for the intercept. And there is negative 2 right here. And it tells me your 0 is at negative 2. Okay, let's look at the other one, which is to the right of the y-axis. So I'm going to, again, second calc. I'm looking for a 0, which is what a calculator calls it, as you can also call it a root. In this case, my left bound is below the x-axis. Right bound is above the x-axis. And then take a guess in between those two, and my second 0 is 2 right here. And so we got exactly what we have, positive 2 and negative 2 from the calculator. Okay, letter B. Let's find the y-intercept or intercepts. Okay, so same thing as here, okay. Every point on the y-axis has an x value of 0. So, substitute 0 for x and solve. Algebraically, it's the exact same thing. Whoops, I need to move my paper up a little bit here. Okay, let's try that. Let's go through that again. I wrote it out. Letter B here, every point on the y-axis has an x value of 0. So, substitute 0 in for x and solve. Okay, let's take a look. So my equation is y equals x squared minus 4. I'll put 0 in for x. Because it's being squared, I'm going to use parentheses when I substitute. And this is pretty quick. 0 squared is 0, so we come up with y equals negative 4, and that would be the y-intercept. Okay, again, you can write this in two ways. You can say the y-intercept is negative 4. Okay, as a coordinate, you would simply put the x value of 0 and the y value of your intercept, negative 4. So here we're telling you the y-intercept is something. Here we're writing it down as a coordinate with both an x value and a y value. Okay, now to our calculator. Okay, I'm going to go back up to, you can see it up here, I think. Yep, won't see my original equation, so we'll write up here. Okay, so again, my equation is already in there. There's my equation in the y equals. Okay, I press graph, and you can see right here is where it crosses the y-axis. And again, you have two choices. You can go to second, calc, and you can say value, and value allows you to input an x value, so it's calling for an x, and it'll give you the y once you tell it the x value. Okay, I want it when x is 0 because that's the y-intercept. And it says, okay, you're at -4. That's your y-intercept. That's one way. The other way is to go to your trace key. So press trace. Whoops, let me clear that out. Go press trace. Well, well, in this case, trace looks like it's starting. Looks like it's starting right on the y-axis. But let's say it didn't. So let me move off of this here. Let me press trace. So okay, hang on a second. Let's go to graph. Let's press trace. Okay, let's say the cursor ends up here. Well, you want to put a value in for x, so just put in 0, and there you go. So it'll trace right there, and then press enter, and you get -4. So trace allows you to go along and see the different values for your x and your y along the graph, but you'll notice based upon pixels, it's not counting by any particular number. But if you want to give it an x, just enter an x. X is 1. Okay, y is -3. Well, that's not the y-intercept. X is 0, gives you the y-intercept of -4. So there you have it. Taking a look at intercepts, both graphically and using your TI calculator.